For healthy couples, intimacy should be discussed with accuracy, respect, and emotional maturity, not shame or fear. Here's a fully rewritten and expanded version of the speech in a smoother, more professional 3,000-word style, while keeping the educational and compassionate tone intact. There are certain questions many people carry silently for years, questions about intimacy, health, relationships, and the human body that often feel too embarrassing to ask aloud. These are the kinds of questions whispered between close friends, searched privately late at night, or nervously brought up during a doctor's appointment with hesitant eyes and a lowered voice. Yet these questions matter deeply because intimacy is not only physical. It affects confidence, emotional connection, trust, and even how people feel about themselves in a relationship. Today, we're going to have one of those honest conversations openly, respectfully, and without judgment. The topic may feel slightly uncomfortable at first, but discomfort disappears when understanding begins. Knowledge removes fear. Honest discussion removes shame. And when people understand their bodies and their relationships better, intimacy becomes healthier, safer, and far more meaningful. One of the most common yet rarely discussed questions people ask is this: is it safe to swallow vaginal fluids during oral intimacy? Closely followed by questions like, is the taste or smell normal? What causes differences? Can it affect health? What should couples know to stay safe? These are real concerns. They are not silly, inappropriate, or strange. In fact, millions of people quietly wonder the same things but rarely hear calm, medically grounded answers. So today, let's discuss the science, the emotional side, and the practical reality of this topic in a respectful and mature way. First, it's important to understand something fundamental. For healthy individuals in consensual relationships, vaginal fluids are generally normal and natural bodily secretions. They are not dirty, toxic, or something shameful. The female body produces these fluids for important biological reasons. They help maintain vaginal health, protect delicate tissues, support healthy bacteria, and reduce friction during intimacy. In other words, these fluids are part of the body's natural design. Yet despite this, many people grow up hearing misinformation, jokes, or harmful myths that create anxiety around intimacy. Some become fearful of normal body functions. Others become overly critical or embarrassed about natural variations in smell or taste. But the human body is not a machine designed for artificial perfection. Every person's body chemistry is slightly different, and variation is completely normal. The composition of vaginal fluids changes naturally throughout the menstrual cycle, during different emotional states, with hydration levels, diet, stress, medications, and even sleep patterns. That means there is no single correct taste, smell, or consistency. For example, hydration often affects the body's natural fluids overall. Someone who drinks more water regularly may notice milder or lighter secretions. Diet can also influence body chemistry. Certain fruits, vegetables, and balanced nutrition may subtly affect scent and taste, while alcohol, coffee, smoking, garlic, or heavily processed foods may create stronger body odors in general. Hormones also play a major role. Around ovulation, vaginal fluids often become clearer, thinner, and more abundant because the body is naturally preparing for fertility. Before menstruation, the texture and scent may change slightly. After menopause, lower estrogen levels can lead to reduced lubrication and changes in vaginal acidity. All of this is part of normal human biology. What matters most is understanding the difference between normal variation and signs of possible infection or imbalance. A healthy vaginal environment naturally contains beneficial bacteria, especially lactobacilli, which help maintain a slightly acidic pH. This acidity protects against harmful organisms and infections. Because of this natural chemistry, vaginal fluids may sometimes have a mildly tangy or acidic scent. That does not automatically mean anything is wrong. However, sudden strong foul odors, itching, burning, unusual discharge colors, pain, or irritation may indicate infections such as bacterial vaginosis, yeast infections, or sexually transmitted infections. In those cases, medical evaluation is important. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming that discussing sexual health ruins romance. In reality, open communication creates deeper trust. Healthy intimacy depends on emotional safety just as much as physical attraction. Couples who can discuss boundaries, testing, comfort, hygiene, preferences, and concerns openly usually experience stronger emotional and physical connections. Unfortunately, many adults never learned how to communicate about intimacy respectfully. Instead, they learned silence, embarrassment, avoidance, or criticism. That silence can create unnecessary fear. For example, many people never discuss STI testing because they worry it will sound accusatory or awkward. But routine testing is actually a sign of maturity and mutual care. Sexually transmitted infections such as chlamydia, gonorrhea, herpes, syphilis, HPV, and HIV can sometimes spread through oral contact, although some risks are lower than with penetrative sex. This means that while vaginal fluids are generally safe in healthy, infection-free relationships, health status still matters. Knowing each other's sexual health status helps couples make informed decisions confidently, rather than relying on assumptions. There's also an important emotional dimension to this conversation that people often ignore. How partners react to each other's bodies deeply affects confidence and emotional intimacy. Criticism, disgust, mockery, or harsh comments about natural body functions can leave lasting emotional wounds. Many people carry insecurities for years because a partner once embarrassed them during an intimate moment. On the other hand, acceptance creates safety. When someone feels emotionally accepted by their partner, they relax more fully, communicate more honestly, and experience intimacy with less anxiety and shame. That emotional trust often matters far more than physical perfection. Kindness during intimacy is incredibly powerful. If a partner notices a change in odor or discharge, the healthiest response is not humiliation or judgment. Instead, approach the situation gently and supportively. Something as simple as, maybe we should both schedule a checkup, or let's take care of our health together, can preserve dignity while addressing concerns responsibly. The goal should never be blame. The goal should always be mutual care. Another important point many people overlook is hygiene. Good hygiene is not about shame. It's about comfort, confidence, and health for both partners. Simple habits can make intimacy more pleasant and reduce anxiety significantly. Regular bathing, staying hydrated, wearing breathable clothing, maintaining balanced nutrition, avoiding harsh-scented products inside the vaginal area, practicing safe sex when appropriate, getting regular medical checkups. These habits support both comfort and overall reproductive health. It's also important to understand that stress and emotional well-being affect intimacy more than most people realize. Chronic stress can alter hormones, reduce libido, affect natural lubrication, and even influence body chemistry. Sleep deprivation, anxiety, depression, and relationship tension can all impact sexual health. This is why healthy intimacy is not just about physical technique or attraction. It's connected to emotional well-being, communication, self-esteem, and overall health. One of the most harmful myths in society is the idea that discussing sexual health is somehow unromantic. Actually, emotional honesty is one of the strongest forms of intimacy. When couples can talk openly without shame, they create an environment of trust where both people feel valued and respected. And this matters at every age. Many people incorrectly assume intimacy becomes unimportant later in life. But emotional and physical connection remain deeply meaningful well into older adulthood. In fact, many couples report that intimacy becomes more emotionally fulfilling with age because communication and trust improve over time. Passion does not disappear simply because people grow older. Confidence, affection, curiosity, tenderness, and desire can continue throughout life when relationships are nurtured with care and respect. Another important thing to remember is that media and internet culture often create unrealistic expectations about bodies and sexuality. Real human intimacy is not scripted or flawless. Bodies are naturally imperfect, variable, and human. Healthy relationships are built on understanding reality, not chasing artificial perfection. So if someone has quietly worried about these questions, they should know there is no shame in wanting accurate information. Curiosity about intimacy is normal. Wanting reassurance is normal. Asking health questions is responsible. The key is learning from trustworthy medical information rather than fear, rumors, or online myths designed to create anxiety. So let's summarize the most important truths clearly and simply. For healthy, infection-free couples, swallowing vaginal fluids during consensual oral intimacy is generally considered safe. Natural variations in taste, smell, texture, and amount are completely normal and influenced by many factors, including hormones, hydration, diet, and health. Good communication between partners is essential for emotional safety and trust. Regular STI testing and honest discussions about sexual health are responsible, mature, and caring practices. Good hygiene and overall health habits improve comfort and confidence for both partners. And perhaps most importantly, people should approach intimacy with kindness rather than shame, because intimacy is not just about physical acts. It's about emotional connection, trust, vulnerability, and mutual respect. When people feel accepted instead of judged, relationships grow stronger. When people communicate honestly instead of hiding in fear, intimacy becomes healthier. And when people understand the body scientifically rather than through myths or embarrassment, confidence naturally increases. The human body is not something to fear. Healthy intimacy is not something shameful. And honest conversations about relationships and sexual health should never be treated as taboo. Education protects people. Communication strengthens relationships. Compassion deepens connection. So if this topic ever caused anxiety, uncertainty, or embarrassment, let that fear go. You are not strange for wondering about it. You are not alone for having questions. And there is absolutely nothing weak about seeking knowledge about health and intimacy. In fact, learning openly and responsibly is one of the healthiest things any person can do for themselves and for their relationships. At the end of the day, the real foundation of satisfying intimacy is not perfection. It is trust. It is honesty. It is emotional safety. It is mutual care. And those qualities never go out of style. No matter someone's age, background, or relationship stage, healthy intimacy remains possible when approached with maturity, respect, and compassion. Because confidence grows when fear disappears. Connection grows when shame disappears. And relationships become stronger when people choose understanding over silence. Take care of your health. Respect your partner. Communicate openly. And remember that informed, compassionate intimacy is one of the most powerful forms of human connection.